Hi everybody, my name's Kirk Brown. I've got a company called Oasis Sound. I'm based out of Edgewood, and I'm on the board of trustees at the East Mountain Unity Center. I had to think about that for a minute. We just recently changed our name. And I've done some upgrades to the sound system here in your sanctuary. So let's start by showing you how to power the system up. First thing you're going to do is go into the utility closet here and turn on the switch. Now we're going to walk over to the amp rack and snake head, which is right near the piano. Now this all assumes that it was shut down properly last time. This amplifier should be off. You might even want to check before you turn that switch on over there to be sure this amplifier is shut down and this cable is disconnected. And this is the cable that's in the ACE end, which feeds the Mackie speakers. You'll want to make sure that's unplugged. Okay, so we're going to plug that back in. That gets the signal back to the Mackies. We're going to power up this amp, which feeds the monitors and the corner Yamaha speakers.
Okay, Kirk, can we point out the 3 sets of speakers again, or 4 actually, that we're talking about?
All the speakers that we're powering are, of course, the Yamahas in the corners, the Mackies, which are hanging from the beam up top. Third set of speakers are our 2 monitor wedges. Fourth set of speakers, which we're going to walk back to the mixer and power up right now, are these little JBLs in the rear of the sanctuary. And the final set of speakers are the foyer and nursery. Now these rear JBLs and the foyer and nursery speakers are powered from the amp that's below the mixer here. Levels are going to stay put where they are. Just power it up by hitting the switch and you're all powered up. Next, we're going to walk through the signal path. Obviously starts from the altar area where our mics plug into the snake. Let's walk up there and take a look at that real quick. There's cables here in a minute. So here's our snake head. This is where all the signals are going to originate from the altar. Currently, we've got plugged in here Ross's guitar in one, and I'll probably put some labels on here at some point, might make this a little simpler. This is the piano in 2, this is Todd's vocal in 3, 4 and 5, I should be able to remember what they are. But
choral mics.
Actually the choral mics are over here in 15 and 16. These are the 2 mics, new mics that are hanging over the altar here.
4 is the extra mic on the platform.
That's right. That's the handheld vocal mic.
And currently 5 is for an iPod or the CD player.
So at any rate, we've got 16 inputs available here that run back to the mixer. And as long as we're looking, we'll come back to this as we kind of walk through the path of the signal here. So anyway, this is where everything originates from the altar. Is right here.
And when you talk about where the sound originates from, it comes from a microphone or an instrument.
Or an instrument, which could be a direct input, like a guitar put to a direct box, for example. Yeah, or a keyboard, something along those lines. Or the iPod or CD player that's up here. Our other source of inputs are, of course, the wireless microphones, which are these 3 receivers, which are plugged directly into the mixer. And they're coming into channels 17, 18, and 19.
Otherwise known as the handheld.
The handheld wireless, which everybody, of course, knows is this. 18 is Judy's headset mic, which is labeled headset 2, is that correct?
Right.
And Ross's is in 19, which has no label on it. So those are the 3 wireless. The 16 input channels I was showing you up near the piano there come into channels 1 through 16 on the mixer, and as I pointed out up there, currently we have the guitar, piano, Todd's vocal, and the handheld vocal, plus a couple of other additional things plugged in. The choir mics are in 15 and 16. So that's where everything comes into the board here. Continuing on with the signal path, we've got a left and right output from the board. The left output of the board feeds into a graphic equalizer, which is underneath the mixer. There's a protective cover over the equalizer because it's been preset by me to optimize the sound in the room. The signal comes out of the equalizer and feeds the Yamaha and Mackie speakers. And we'll walk up and you can see where that comes out of the snake head up there in just a moment. We're going to continue on though with all the other outputs on the board here and how a signal is getting to the other speaker systems from the board. So that's the right output, feeding the Mackie and Yamahas. The left side feeds the rear speakers, and it's going directly into the amplifier below here that runs the rear speakers. And it's also feeding the speakers that are in the foyer and nursery. So that's the right output. The other outputs we're utilizing on the board are for the hearing assist. You can see I've put a label marked HA for hearing assist, and that's plugged into the mono out. The mono out just follows the left and right signal. There's no level adjustment needed for that. This also controls, of course, the left and right. So everything's following this mix, the yellow fader. The record out also follows that, left and right. There's no additional level control for the recording, except, of course, the level control that's on the actual front of the recorder itself. So the record out is marked REC out here. The other output we're utilizing is to the monitors, and you can see I've labeled the cable MON for monitor, and it's coming off the auxiliary 1 output. That feeds into the other side of this graphic equalizer. And again, I've tuned that on the equalizer, and it's under the protective cover. So it's coming out of the board on auxiliary 1, going into the equalizer and down the snake and feeding the amplifier up there. So let's walk back up to the altar so we can look at where those feeds are coming out of the snake. So up here on our send